What is up, everyone? This is Raphael Garcia back again for another edition of the MMA Ratings Hangout. We're running a little late today, just because of some technical issues, but we are going to get a show taped for you no matter what. So we have a lot to talk about, man. Obviously, we had a big event this past weekend. We have another pay-per-view coming up this weekend. But as always, before I get into that, first let me say, you can always follow me at R Garcia underscore sports. You can check out everything I'm talking about there within the MMA and sports world as a whole. You can follow MMA Ratings at MMAratings.net. You can check us out there. We're the only website that allows you to rank all the fights, tell us how good or bad you think they actually are, and we also give you a host of editorial pieces there too by myself and Adam Martin. He's a well-known contributor to the site as well too. But as I mentioned, we have quite a bit to talk about from this past week of sports. Obviously, we talk. We're gonna look at UFC on Fox 16 and talk about that card. So yeah, I think last week I actually picked Kenan Burrell to win this fight, but boy was I wrong. TJ Dillashaw dominated that man in every aspect of the fight. It almost looked like he was toying with him out there to an extent. He was basically controlling the Brazilian. He looked like he wore him out even by the time the first round was over, because looked like Kenan was breathing heavy. Looked like he just didn't have anything to offer the Team Alpha Male fighter. I was very impressed with what TJ did. He basically shut down every aspect of Kenan's game. Was able to move around him. He made him look extremely slow, and just didn't have anything to offer for Dillashaw at all. When the fight was finished in the fourth round, I wasn't uh, I wasn't surprised. If you go back and watch the fight, at the end of the third round, it looked like Herb Dean was almost holding Burrell up for him to turn around and walk back to his side of the cage. He was badly shaken. His mouth was wide open. He was cut up. He just didn't have that look in his eye that he actually looked like he had no idea what was going on. And even Joe Rogan actually pointed it out, I believe, when he was talking about what Burrell's corner was saying to him in between the third and fourth round, where they weren't giving him any actual advice. Was telling him to go out there and win the fight. Well, obviously he was trying to win, but nothing he was doing was good enough against TJ at the time. So this is his second loss in years. He's been a high level competitor in years, and I think that says a lot. It says a lot about TJ for sure, because he definitely went out there and defeated a man who not only ran up a impressive win streak, but also dominated Uriah Faber and a number of other guys in the bantamweight division. So that kind of leaves the question as for huh, what is next for TJ Dillashaw? What's next for him being the champion, and what is he going to do going forward? Well, right now I think that the best bet. I would love to see them book a fight against Dominic Cruz. Unfortunately, he is out with that injury. I think he's supposed to be out until early next year. And while that is, that's being uh, hopeful with his string of knee injuries, I think that's like that. I don't want to see TJ have to wait until that fight. I think there are a number of other viable fights. Obviously, there's a fight with Raphael Garcia, another fighter who was injured and on the show at this point in time, but he's out there as well too. He has a victory over TJ, albeit controversial. He definitely did defeat the champion before he was able to grab the belt in the UFC. So who else is out there? Uriah Faber, his name does come up. I don't think he's going to challenge for the bantamweight title right now, but him and Dillashaw have commented on fighting each other in the past, and I wouldn't be mad at seeing it. I think that they would They would be a great fight. I think the promotion leading up to it would be awesome, especially now with these comments that Dwayne Ludwig had dropped about Team Alpha Male and about their whole willingness, I guess, to train or whatever it is to be champions. But he has some pretty inflammatory comments that he's not backing down from. So there's those three options that are out there, and then there's also a potential with Aljamain Sterling. That's another individual who is shooting up the rankings as well. I have a funny story I read about him earlier today too as well. I'll probably talk about that later on. But he's someone else who, with 1 or 2 wins, he could be standing across the cage from TJ challenging for the title. But of course, I would love to see the Dominic Cruz fight first. It's not going to happen in 2015. So until then, we have some options for TJ at this point in time. In the co-main event, Misha Tate was able to defeat Jessica Ai, and I'm really impressed with how the way that Tate continues to improve. She looks better every time she steps out into the cage, and this time she was able to control every aspect of this fight. When she landed that right hand that dropped Jessica I thought the fight was over. She definitely hurt her, and it changed the way I fought for the whole fight. Because like if you notice, up to that point, she was really aggressive with her striking, trying to push Tate around. She was landing a lot of good shots to Tate's face as well too. But once Tate dropped her, she just completely changed. She backed off. She was much more laid back and just not laid back. That may not be the right word, but she just wasn't as aggressive as she was up until that point. And then when she got dropped again, and I think in the third round she got dropped again, it was clear that she just didn't have anything for Tate at any point in time in this fight. Do I want to see Misha fight Ronda again? Not right now. No, not at all. And what's sad is that Tate would be a she would be a great champion for the UFC if Ronda Rousey wasn't around. Let's say like that fight never happened. Rousey never gets into MMA, and Tate well actually Tate may not even be in the UFC. That's the actual question there. But she's someone that could definitely hold up that flag if the opportunity ever does come to her. Do I want to see her fight Ronda again? Like I said, no, not right now. I think it's too early. They've already fought twice, and neither time was close. All Tate can really brag about is that she's gone out of the first round with Riley, but I don't see this fight going any different than it did the first 2 times. Edson Barbosa and Paul Felder is probably the fight of the night. These two guys were just standing there winging at each other for an extended amount of time. Like they were just they're just throwing the woods at each other. It seemed like every strike that they threw was intended to knock someone out or intended to break something. Barbosa was landing those switch kicks to the body. Paul Felder's rib section just looked completely red and pink. Felder was landing those spinning elbows. He did some damage to Barbosa's eye. Both of these guys looked very good in this fight. This is one of those ones where they deserve some bonus money for their performances. Barbosa is a good win for him. I still don't think I'm still not man. This is going to piss some people off that I know, but I still am not sold on him being a big name contender at this time. I think he is just going to continue to flounder around this point part of the division. I don't think he's going to ever challenge for a title. I just don't see him defeating guys like Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think he would have a good chance to get Donald Cerrone if they ever did fight again. That would be a fight I would watch, but I don't see him defeating someone like RDA. I would watch him against Anthony Pettis. There are a number of fights I would love to see him in, but I just don't see him beating the guys like in the top 1 to 5 slots of this division. For example, I mean, heck, I don't think he would beat someone like a Mr. Henderson if he moved down, but If you look at Anthony Pettis, Donald Cerrone, Khabib Nurmagomedov, I don't think he wins any of those fights. Eddie Alvarez, I think he has a good chance of winning that one fight. And there's Michael Johnson, who already has a win over Eddie. So I don't think he's going to move any higher up this top five, up into the top five rankings for Felder. This was his first fight, his first crack at the big leagues there, quote quote big leagues. So I would like to. There are a number of fights that are open to him. Maybe there's a Miles Jury, maybe a Bobby Green, ally Quinta. I selected Nick Diaz in a piece I wrote for MMA ratings. I think that would be a great way for him to get back into the winner's circle and definitely fight someone that has a style that fits his type of battle. So Paul Felder versus Nate Diaz, sign me up. I would love to watch. Joe Lozon and Takanori Gomi opened up the main card, I believe, in that fight. I called it. This fight wasn't going out of the first round, and Lozon did his thing to get the finish, taking Gomi to the ground and getting the finish. Okay, let's see. Well, looks like we're back. I don't know if I ran into some technical difficulties there, but yeah. So as I was saying, who was I talking about? I just finished up talking to Ray Gomi and Joe Lozon. I was surprised with how that main card bout went down. I picked Lozon to win, and I didn't expect it to go outside of the first round, which is exactly what happened. Um, the way Joe Lozon's grappling is just, well above much of the standard within the lightweight division. It's just unfortunate that he is not going to be a lightweight champion. He's not even going to be a title challenger at any point in time. I think his biggest win was the upset he had over Melvin Gillard a couple of years back. Outside of that, I don't see too much of him. I don't see that guy doing too much to really bolster his ranking slot in the division. I mean, he's not even within the top 15 at this point in time. So there are still some fun fights out there for him, and I will continue to watch this guy compete. I just don't expect him to ever become a champion or even be a top five, top 10 contender for that much for what it's worth. You get 1 second to get this set back up. Okay, folks, I think I got everything straightened out. So let's get back into UFC on Fox 16 and run down the last little bit of this card there. I stopped on Gian Vellante versus Tom Lawler, and I was pretty surprised at how that fight ended. I expected Lawler to, and I didn't expect Lawler to win that fight. To be honest, I thought that was Gian's fight to win, and he started out very well. Unfortunately for him, he rushed in and got smoked in the second round and went down. Like, and just the way he went down was just absolute. Like, you knew he was out before he even finished place play. So that's a pretty bad loss for him there because he was ranked number 15 at the time, and it really cut a lot of his momentum because now it's no there. You wonder what's really next for him. Tom Lawler, he made the. I guess he tried to cut the promo that he's staying around at light heavyweight. I don't see him winning too many more fights. I don't see him really making a run. So this is probably like the downward spiral of his not the downward spiral. Excuse me, this is like the latter half of his career. Jim Miller, Jay Castillo, I definitely like that fight. It was a split decision, but I sided with Jim Miller getting his hand raised there. I think he did enough to win that fight there. Jay Castillo is a very tough opponent, gameless opponent as well. Someone who is worth watching in the lightweight division, but Miller's a veteran who knows how to get the win. He's very, very dangerous off of his back as well too. So I like what I saw from him in that fight. The same goes with the Ben Saunders Kenny Robertson fight. And watching Ben Saunders work off of his back is something that's amazing. As a jiu-jitsu player myself, I definitely wish I had a game like his where he just threatens from every position. And yeah, Kenny Robertson in some bad spots. So seeing him win around off of his back, he definitely cut him open with those elbows, a la Diego Sanchez back in the day. So watching him win that round off his back gave me some confidence that the refs know or the judges know what they're watching. So I definitely appreciated his bout and his continued run of success since returning back to the UFC. We also got Brian Caraway and Eddie Wineland, and I wasn't too that was a good win for Caraway there. Wineland definitely doesn't look like as great of a competitor as he did back in the day, but he doesn't look like a he doesn't look like a former champion. I guess maybe wear and tear and the incessant injuries have caught up to him as well too. But he just didn't look like he had anything to offer for Brian at that point in time. He just looked like he was running kind of slowly there. Um, James Krause, Darren Cruikshank. I don't think I was laughing at this fight here. It seems like Darren Cruikshank just doesn't train any jiu-jitsu at all. Like he looked like he was tapping as soon as he went down to the mat. So his he's only going to be able to get away with this for so long. He's obviously a highlight reel knockout waiting to happen, but until he recognizes the points of grappling, guys are just going to continue to take him down and finish him there. Andrew Holbrook and Ramsey Nizzim. I don't know how Andrew got that win. I definitely sided with Ramsey. He was just more aggressive. Even in the third round, it looked like he was pushing the pace a little bit faster there too. So I don't agree with that decision at all. Elizabeth Phillips versus Jessamine Duke. Jessamine Duke, I expected to be cut from the UFC. I thought I made the joke that this was a loser leaves town fight. And Phillips brought it for the first two rounds, and Duke poured it on at the end right there, but was unable to get the win. And then Zach Cummings needed just less than a minute to blow away Dominic Phil to get the night started. So I think UFC on 516 was a good card. I definitely enjoyed what I saw from start to finish, and I'm looking forward to what I see from a couple of these guys going forward. TJ, of course, we should take Joe Lozon and Evan Barbosa. I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys are going to do next. This weekend we have UFC 190, which unfortunately for Ronda Rousey is probably one of the weaker cards that they could have put her on. And I think it's going to hurt her overall stock as a pay-per-view draw. It's not really her fault. Obviously, it's not her fault, but unfortunately, it's just unfortunate that this is like what the UFC has come to when it comes to some of their cards that they're forced to put on. Obviously, I'm looking forward to seeing her compete. I enjoy watching her fight. Anytime I see her to defeat Beth Correa, I don't think that Correa is going to be able to get out of the first round at all. But she's still the only interesting aspect of this fight is the fact that she has punching power, but she hasn't really defeated anyone worth note at any point in time in this rise to this rise to fame. So I expected her to lose. I expected her to lose within the first round, and unfortunately, it's probably going to be pretty violent. But I'm looking forward to seeing Ronda Rousey fight anytime she competes. Just because I think she is the greatest women's competitor, but not even that. She's probably one of the greatest competitors in the game. Period. Just because she goes out there and she continues to get better in everything she does. So this is going to be something that's awesome to see, and I expect her to get the win violently, and to move on to the next endeavor. I think I wouldn't be surprised if she stepped away from the sport at the time. I don't think that fight with Cyborg is going to happen. Cyborg is supposed to be there, but I don't think they're going to allow her in the cage or anything like that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens come this weekend. Mauricio Fuas and Antonio Rodrigo Noguera, they're fighting in the co-main event. Not too excited about that fight either. Honestly, I think these are two guys that are on their way out. Two guys who, are Hall of Famers. Two guys who are Hall of Famers, but just won't. They're not going to make a run towards the title at any point in time. So we'll see what happens in this fight. There, I expect Shogun to get the win, just because he's the least older of the two, but he is definitely going through, his own injury issues, his own kind of just straight suffering that he's had to deal with throughout most of his career. Then I don't even know who these other fights are that are on the main card. I'm guessing they're from the Tough Brazil season. You got the other Noguera brother fighting Stephen Struve. I am not too interested in that fight there, to be honest. Let's see, Antonio Silva, Sol Pelele, Nope, don't care. Claudia Gadelia and Jessica Aguilar. That's probably the most important fight on this card, other than the main event, because the winner of that fight will most likely face Joanna Jędrzejczyk up next. So that's definitely something worth watching there, especially if you know the history between Jędrzejczyk and Gadelia, because they had that awesome fight earlier in the year. We also got Damian Maya and Neil Magny, who, this is more of a coming out show for Neil Magny, because Maya is definitely one of those type of fighters who can stifle someone's growth. He already did it once this year, if Magny is expecting to get into the upper echelon of the welterweight division, then he has to win this fight here. So that's another important fight to watch too as well. I would rather those last two fights I mentioned, Aguilar and Bedelia and Maya and Magny, be on the main card, because I would enjoy to watch those more than those other two fights that are currently there. Rafael Cavalcante is fighting Patrick Cummings. I'm gonna go with Cummings in that fight there too, just because I've never been too impressed with Cavalcante. I think he's always been overrated, and he hasn't looked the same since moving over to the UFC. Let's see who else is worth talking about. Clint Hester is coming back. That should be an interesting fight to watch there. See what he has to offer. Leandro Isa's back with Luri Alcantara. Um, so yeah, they're really. This is probably one of their weaker Brazil cards in a while, and I'm wondering how how it's going to impact Rousey's buy rate. We'll see in a couple of weeks, but you know, I'm not. I'm pretty certain that the UFC isn't too concerned about it at this point in time. And let's see. So that brings us to a close of the reviews, obviously, of the last two fight cards. Excuse me, of the fight card and the reviews and the preview of this weekend's event. So let's move forward into some of the news bits that we saw from this past week. First thing you know is Dana White and Chris Duran situation. Obviously, you probably heard if you follow MMA at this point in time. Chris Duran was one of the cut men for the UFC. He was fired for speaking out against the organization because it affected his sponsors that he was able to bring in. And while I'm not mad, this is a bad situation because the UFC fires Stitch, then Reebok goes out of their way to let fans know that they do not have any power in saying who gets fired and who gets sponsorship money. That's all on UFC. Then Dana White's response to that which is posted on Sherdog and I think it was on Fox Sports One was almost disgusting to watch, in which he flat out lets everyone know that Dana White, or excuse me, that Sister Duran was not his friend, that they weren't friends, and like he didn't even consider. Like just go back and watch it, and it's pretty disturbing to see how he just completely writes off the situation. And again, I think that's not the best way for him to go about managing his public perception, because whether he wants to believe it or not, his perception does impact the success of the UFC. This is not, again, I always say, you would not see individuals like Goodell or Adam Silver or even but still anyone acting out this way, but he still continues to do it. And I was speaking with someone the other day, and they were mentioning how this as more and more mainstream outlets tend to begin watching how the UFC grows, his behaviors will become more and more apparent to the public around. He can't keep acting this way. So we'll see what happens as this situation continues to grow. But yeah, that just did not sit well with me from start to finish. What I was mentioning earlier about Aljamain Sterling and brief story with him. Looks like he got to an altercation with Floyd Mayweather during a pool party out in Vegas last actually in May that almost ended badly for Floyd Mayweather. It's a pretty funny story. Posted on my Facebook page. I think it's floating around MMA Weekly about how Sterling was ready to go upside Mayweather's head. I think he mentioned that he would tune him up, which is pretty funny to me, but it was something worth watching. This weekend we have some boxing action as well as Sergio Garcia fight Paul Maginot, Paul Mal, I can't even speak, but Paulie M is what I'll call him. That should be a pretty good boxing fight for you fans out there to catch. Let me see what else is on the docket for this week. That's really all I feel like talking about right now, man. It's been a long weekend. We have some good fights. We have another fight card coming up this weekend that we have to work. So I'll be watching and writing about this next season coming up. Be sure to catch my pieces on MMA Ratings Net. You can catch Anna Martin's work there as well. Michael Ford contributes to the site every now and then too. He is our editor behind the scenes mastermind. So be sure to go to the webpage, rank all the fights, and let us know what you think. And follow MMA Ratings Net on Instagram and Twitter. You can follow me at rgarcia_sports. You can catch Anna Martin and Michael Ford as well there. And I thank you for giving me your time this weekend. And we will be back next week to talk about UFC 190 and anything else that happens in the world of combat sports. Thanks and have a great day.